It's September 13th, 1932. Jack Quinn enters the sixth inning of a Brooklyn Dodgers game against the St. Louis Cardinals. After pitching the final 5 innings, Al Lopez executes a squeeze play for a walk-off. The 49-year-old Jack Quinn has just become the oldest pitcher in Major League history to win a game. Years later, in Sellersville, Pennsylvania, a young Phillies fan would be born. 49 years after that, the kid would place his name in the history books as one of the greatest old guys in baseball history. Right up there with Roger Clemens, Bartolo Colon, Randy Johnson, and Nolan Ryan. That's right, today we're talking about Jamie Moyer. But Moyer wasn't always an old guy. He was once a young old guy. In high school at Suderman Area High School in Philadelphia, he was a Phillies fan. Growing up, his dad once received a spring training invite with the Phillies and Cardinals. Moyer was in love with baseball since his youth, and by the time he got to high school, he had developed a nasty fastball-curveball combo. Nasty enough to throw a no-hitter. Then a few days later, another one. Then a few days later, another one. Yes, he tossed 3 consecutive no-hitters in high school and went 10-0 in his junior year and 22-3 overall. He wasn't drafted after high school, mostly because his fastball didn't have enough gas on it. So he went to college, choosing between Temple and St. Joseph's because they were both in the Philadelphia area. He picked St. Joseph's and would set the school record for strikeouts and ERA in a season, likely due to his changeup, which would become his best pitch. So you can pretty much thank Kevin Quirk for his entire career. His number 10 was retired by the university, and to this day, it remains the only retired number. Entering the 1984 MLB draft, Moyer was by no means the top pitching prospect. At the top of the class were absolute legends of the game such as Billy Swift, Drew Hall, and Pat whatever, as well as actual titans of the game Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. But Moyer went 135th overall to the Cubs. He chilled in the minors for a while before making his major league debut on June 16, 1986. His first start could not have come against a better opponent. Being a Phillies fan growing up, Moyer naturally idolized Steve Carlton, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He outdueled the future Hall of Famer, pitching 6 1/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs and 8 hits while collecting the win. A couple months later, on August 27th, Moyer would face Nolan Ryan for the first time. Moyer pitched 3 1/3 innings and got the loss after giving up 5 earned runs. 5 days later, he would face Ryan again. Both men would give up 3 runs in 6 and 7 innings pitched. With the game tied and both starters gone, the Astros took a 9th inning lead. But the Cubs came back and tied it. Eventually, it got dark, and since Wrigley Field doesn't have lights yet, they suspended the game.
The next day,
the Astros put up 3 runs in the 17th. Then the Cubs launched a game-tying 3-run homer. The Cubs collect a single and call in a pinch runner. Who was that pinch runner? Greg Maddux. Yes, that Greg Maddux. They slid him to the pitcher's spot the next inning, and he gave up a home run that would eventually lose the game for the Cubs. But Maddux would pitch a complete game shutout a few days later for his first win, and there's Moyer to congratulate him, having pitched his own complete game shutout less than a month earlier. But enough on Greg Maddux, this is Jamie Moyer's story. And we need to spice things up a bit. What's the quickest way to get into the history books? A perfect game. So in Moyer's first start of 1987, that's exactly what he's going to do. Okay, look, so like, nobody told me you couldn't have walks in a perfect game, so not my fault at all for messing that up. But on the bright side, Moyer still has a no-hitter going into the 9th. Big fat 0 up on the scoreboard in the hit column. Juan Samuel, Von Hayes, Mike Schmidt. That's all that stands in the way of Jamie Moyer and baseball immortality. The first pitch of the ninth is a strike. Samuel takes a ball, and the Phillies faithful want him to get this no-hitter, evidenced by the booing after the second ball.
In close, 2-1 on leadoff man 1, Samuel.
That's a hanger, and that's a hit. For the entire rest of his career, Moyer will never get this close to a no-hitter again. Moyer would finally get the best of Ryan on May 16th with an 8-inning 4-hit performance in an otherwise bad 1987 where he led the NL in earned runs allowed. He would bounce back with his first good season in 1988, posting a 3.48 ERA in 34 games. Plus, Moyer and his fiancée Karen got married on October 29th, 1988. I want you to remember that date, by the way. But he did lose both of his starts against Ryan. He would be traded to the Texas Rangers with Rafael Palmeiro for most notably Mitch Williams, the guy who gave up the 1993 World Series walk-off. But guess who signed with the team? As if the 1989 Rangers needed any other players that played for forever, Julio Franco was on the team. Why is that significant? He played from 1982 to 2007, making his final game appearance at age 48, becoming the second oldest player in the integration era. They also had Kevin Brown and Ruben Sierra, who would play in 19 and 20 seasons respectively, making a combined 10 All-Star selections. Also on the team was Kenny Rogers, not the musician, but the 4-time All-Star who would play in 20 seasons. And did I mention they had Harold Baines, who played for 22 seasons? And this was the debut season for both Juan Gonzalez and Sammy Sosa, who would win a combined 3 MVPs and make 10 All-Star appearances. And let's not forget about one-time All-Star Charlie Huff, who pitched for 25 seasons. And the guy Moyer was also traded with, Rafael Palmeiro, yeah, he would somehow also play for 20 seasons. If anyone can find a team with more players who played for 20 seasons than this, please let me know. But despite all these names and talent, the Rangers finished 4th in the AL West. Moyer's season was short after pulling a muscle which only allowed him to make 15 starts. The next year, he was a starter for his first few appearances in April before being relegated to the bullpen until August. And then finally, he came out of the pen for 2 appearances in September. The Rangers weren't impressed with his 2 seasons in Texas, so they released him after the 1990 campaign. The Cardinals picked him up with the hopes that he could be a major league starter. Coming off his worst season as a pro and a demotion to the minors, the Cubs picked him back up on a minor league deal. He appeared in spring training, but he wouldn't end up making the team. And then, something interesting happened. He was essentially given a choice. Try and continue his career as a pitcher, or become a pitching coach. Realistically, a 29-year-old with a career 4.56 ERA should have taken the job as the coach. He decided to stick it out as a pitcher. The Cubs released him. He went unsigned for the longest time, but finally in May of 1922, it seemed that all of his offers were gone when a team in Japan backed out. And that's when the Toledo Mud Hens came calling. They wanted a mop-up man and saw Moyer as fit for the job. He had a good year with the team, good enough to be signed by the Baltimore Orioles on a minor league deal. He continued to do well in the minors, and for the first time in almost exactly 2 years, Jamie Moyer would pitch in the majors. Yeah, Moyer took the loss, but he pitched 7 1/3 innings and only allowed 2 runs. He did, however, allow 10 hits, but no walks is a good thing and a sign of improvement. His next start was another loss, 6 2/3 innings with only 1 run allowed, and again 10 hits, but still no walks. And this felt like it was coming. A disastrous third start against the California Angels, giving up 7 runs in the second inning before getting yanked. So, through his first 3 starts back, he has a 5.47 ERA. A total disaster, right? Remember, he's 30 years old, so this could be his last chance. Well, Moyer picked himself up and went on a 7-game streak with a 2.22 ERA in 44 2/3 innings. He allowed only 37 hits and 17 walks. Having job security for the first time in years, Moyer would go 16-9 in 1993 to finish with a 3.43 ERA and 3.61 FIP. He couldn't keep the momentum up. He flopped out of the gate of 1994 and never regained any momentum. But thanks to the labor union, his season was done early. The next season, he was even worse with a 5.21 ERA. He was granted free agency, and that by all means should have been the end of his career. But no, the Red Sox were like, hey, want to keep pitching? But there was a catch. He made his first appearance for the Red Sox in relief, and then he started some games. Then he was in the bullpen for a while, then he was back to being a starter, and by this point, Moyer was upset at his constant swapping between the bullpen and rotation. The Red Sox were clearly not sure on what to do with him, so they just traded him to the Mariners for Darren Bragg. Jamie had a 4.5 ERA in Boston. Once he hit the Pacific Northwest, Moyer seemed to have figured it out, having a 3.31 ERA in Seattle. After being granted free agency, he re-signed with the Mariners. And this is where Moyer's career would fully be revived. Moyer would have a solid 1997, 3.86 ERA and a 17.5 win-loss record. The Mariners had a 90-72 win-loss record, winning the AL West by 6 games. With the division win comes an ALDS appearance against who else but the team that gave Moyer a comeback. Randy Johnson couldn't get it done in Game 1, so Moyer was on the bump to try and tie the series. The lineups are announced, and look who it is. Palmeiro actually followed Moyer to Baltimore, signing with them in 1993 when Moyer was making his comeback, and he's been there ever since. The Mariners and their historically homer-happy hitters helped heighten Moyer's chances of winning by scoring 2 runs in the first inning. To lead off the second inning, Moyer gets his old teammate with a blazing 78-mile-an-hour changeup. After retiring Cal Ripken Jr., here comes another old teammate. Harold Baines was on the 1989 Rangers with Moyer, and here he gets him.
In the second. Deep to left field. Kelly is going back at the wall. This one is gone. A home run.
Moyer was doing good, only allowing one more hit until the top of the 5th when Baines gets another hit off of him. But Moyer induces a double play to get him out of here. But a flare into center and then a 4-pitch walk. Always a sign that a control pitcher might be getting a little shaky. Another warning sign is this high ball to Robbie Alomar. And that was enough for Lou Piniella, who gave Moyer the hook for Paul, I'm gonna say Spoljaric, but I make no reservations on that pronunciation. Also, Karen Moyer was worried about his injury, which later would be confirmed. But don't worry, as Spoljaric gets out of the jam. Except Dan Wilson can't quite hold on to the foul ball. Now on a full count with 2 outs, the runners are going. The pitch is hit deep, but into center, where Ken Griffey Jr. can get this easily. I mean, he does this all the time, and shoot, 2 runs score. Moyer still could have received a no decision if the Mariners scored more runs, but even though they led the American lead in runs scored by a wide margin, they would only put up 1 more, so Moyer would be given the loss. A few days later, the Mariners lost the series, and in 1998, Moyer would be given his first chance to be the ace of the staff once Randy Johnson was out the door and headed to Houston, where he would, well, let's just say he'd be pretty good. In the role, Moyer excelled, posting his second lowest ERA and second highest ERA+. In 1999, Moyer led Mariners starters in ERA, innings pitched, FIP, walks per 9, and strikeout to walk ratio. But guess what? He also led the team in WAR. And I feel as though I need to remind you that Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and Alex Rodriguez were on this team, so that's infinitely more impressive. But more impressive than that would be his 6th place finish in Cy Young voting. In 2000, Moyer would make his first opening day start, where he would face the absolute monster that was 2000 Pedro Martinez. 6.1 innings and 2 runs is pathetic compared to Pedro's 7 innings and 2 hits. Moyer would kinda have a down year, but the Mariners still made the playoffs. Moyer was scheduled to start Game 4, but the Mariners swept the White Sox in 3 games, so by complete coincidence, Jamie Moyer is scheduled to start Game 1 of the ALCS. Until October 8th. In a simulated game at Safeco Field just 2 days before Game 1, Moyer was struck by a line drive in the knee. He received a hairline fracture in his left kneecap. Even if the Mariners made the World Series, Moyer would be unavailable. They did not. The Mariners' 10 WAR shortstop Alex Rodriguez left in free agency. After having lost Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, and now A-Rod, it seemed as though the Mariners were headed for a swift decline. And yet... Moyer bounced back with the lowest ERA in his career to date, and he won 20 games of the Mariners' record-setting 116 victories, with his final win moving the Mariners within one of the all-time record. After starting and winning his first playoff game, Moyer would get back on the bump to try and send the Mariners to the ALCS. Moyer pitched 6 innings, allowing 3 hits, 1 run, and collecting 1 W. After the Mariners suffered back-to-back close losses in games 1 and 2 of the ALCS, Piniella tasked Moyer to prevent going in a 3-0 hole. Because as we all know, no team can come back from a 3-0 ALCS deficit, least of all against the early 2000s Yankees. So Moyer gets to work and immediately walks David Justice with 2 outs. Up next is Bernie Williams, who, as of this recording, has the 3rd most postseason home runs, just behind... Actually, I don't remember who has the 2nd most postseason home runs in MLB history. I think he played, like, second base, might have played for the Astros. I got nothing. Anyway, Williams mashed a career 22 postseason dingers, including this one.
3-2. Runner goes, hit in the air, 399 at the gap, way back, goodbye, home run, Bernie Williams.
But Moyer would bounce back, allowing just 3 more hits and 1 more run for the next 7 innings of work. And thankfully, the Mariners offense stepped it up and dropped 14 on the Yankees, which set the momentum up for heartbreak the next 2 games. Consolation prize of some more Cy Young votes, though. Moyer stayed consistent in 2002, but thanks to Moneyball, the Mariners missed the postseason. But finally, for the first time in his lengthy career, Jamie Moyer made the All-Star game with first-half stats that looked like this. He became the 3rd player to make his first All-Star game above the age of 40. And while the trauma of seeing Edgar Martinez's helmet being cracked open, and I do mean that literally, may have hurt Moyer's morale, he would soon have to face... Jim Edmonds was in the middle of the highest OPS season of his career to date. Pitch 1, he fouls away. Pitch 2 is a low changeup. Pitch 3 is a foul. Pitch 4 is an outside ball. And back to the changeup for the K on Edmonds. Next up is Albert Pujols, who has been known to clobber baseballs a million miles. And I don't care that clip technically hasn't happened yet. His OPS will be the 2nd highest it will ever get, but he just gets under the first pitch and Ichiro makes a great leaping catch. Hopefully, Moyer can get a break with the next hitter. Barry Bonds is in the middle of the weakest season of his 4-year stretch of MVPs, but, you know, it's still good enough for the 15th highest OPS in Major League history. He delivers a ball to Barry Bonds, it happens, but the changeup, oh man, is that a good changeup. And you can actually hear Barry Bonds grunting because he knows it's a strike.
Rookie.
There's ball 2. Moyer, can we just put Barry on first? A couple intentional balls real quick. Moyer deals a pitch that catches too much of the plate and Bond rips it into center. That ball is carrying and it dies at the track. Way to have a perfect inning, Jamie. The Mariners were up 4 games in the AL West late in August, but they would lose the final 2 games of a road trip up in Canada, the second of which was started by Moyer. Then they headed down to Boston to get swept by the Red Sox in 4 games. Now tied for the division lead, Moyer got the M's back on track with a win against the Devil Rays, but it wouldn't matter as the A's took over the division lead and never looked back. They clinched the AL West, and the Red Sox, thanks to that 4-game sweep, clinched the wild card where they would advance all the way to the ALCS. But Moyer's 2003 was outstanding in another way. He was a really nice guy. Nice enough to gain some Cy Young votes. Here, let me explain. The Roberto Clemente Award is given to the player who, quote, best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. The Hutch Award is given to the player who best exemplifies the fighting spirit and competitive desire. And the Lou Gehrig Award is for the player who best exhibits the character and integrity of Lou Gehrig both on the field and off it. And our boy Moyer swept all 3 awards. What a nice and charitable guy. Surely the baseball gods would give him some good karma and allow him to have a good... Oh, dang it! Yeah, there's no way to get around it, folks. Moyer was back below average. His ERA was up, and the Mariners crashed and burned, despite the historic efforts of Ichiro. But hey, the Branch Rickey Award is now his. Same story in 2005, although Moyer was better, and he set a bunch of team records, including most wins as a Mariners pitcher. He became the 25th lefty to win 200 games, and in 2006, he became the 33rd pitcher to start 500 games. He did all of that with a fastball that averaged 82 miles an hour, which is the slowest in the majors. Tim Wakefield doesn't count. He only used it 12% of the time. He's a knuckleballer. I don't want to hear it. But after his 2005 season, in 2006, Moyer was upset that his teammates weren't putting in 110% effort, and so he confessed to his wife, "I can't do this anymore, it's too draining. I'm going to retire at the end of the year." It was going to take a miracle to keep Jamie in baseball, and as a 43-year-old, he was on his way out. And yet... he was traded to the Phillies for some dudes, and he would suddenly be much better. Morale gets you wins, children. Playing for your hometown team can also do that. He was in such high spirits that he reneged on his retirement and kept on going. 2007, not so hot, but hey, the playoffs are within sight on the final day of the year. Are they back in the cards? All the Phillies needed to do was beat the lowly Nationals and have the Mets lose to the Marlins. Now, I'm going to put a Lowell Mets advisory warning, as what comes next is very brutal to watch. Moyer started and did well against Washington. The Mets sent Tom Glavine out to get that win, and with the Phillies beating the Nationals, this was now must-win for New York. LeBron, how many runs did the Marlins score?
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
In quite possibly the most traumatic inning in Mets baseball history for at least the next 8 years, the future Hall of Famer Tom Glavine gave up 7 runs while recording a single out. Playoffs clinched for the Phillies against the Rockies. How did this team make the playoffs? Dude didn't even touch home plate. Anyway, there's no way this team beats Philly. Well, looks like Moyer has to save the season again. Well, season's over, boys. The last time Moyer suffered a postseason defeat, he bounced back with a strong season. And so he did it again. Jamie Moyer, at age 45, put up a 2.8 WAR season. How about that? Moyer would face a situation he hadn't been in for a while, getting on the mound to clinch a postseason series. It didn't go so hot. He lasted 4 innings and gave up 2 runs, which Philly couldn't overcome, and they lost 4-1. But don't worry, as the Phils won the next game to go to the NLCS. Now Moyer can put the Phillies in a 3-0 lead. Instead, Moyer allowed 3 consecutive singles in the first inning, including an RBI to Manny Ramirez, who was by this point A, old, B, his usual self, C, most certainly on some type of steroid. He then beamed Russell Martin right on the knee, which loaded the bases. Strikeout looking, RBI single, another strikeout looking. Here comes Blake DeWitt, who surely won't hit a 3 RBI triple. I'm sorry I lied to you, I didn't mean to. Anywho, the whole hitting Russell Martin in the knee thing didn't exactly sit well with the Dodgers, and in typical fashion, they decided to retaliate by trying to kill the man. The bench is cleared as Manny Ramirez got mad at Victorino for some reason. Maybe he said something to the pitcher, probably not. Whatever, Moyer didn't bounce back as he allowed a leadoff home run in the second to Rafael Furcal. He didn't go much farther than that with an abysmal final stat line. But don't worry, as the Phils won the next game and the next game to go to the World Series. Okay, Jamie, I know the last 2 starts didn't go so hot, so with the 1-1 series, do you think you can give the Phillies a better performance? He would. The last chance to win a World Series for Philadelphia was lost on a walk-off given up by the man Moyer was once traded for. Prior to that, the Phillies' only other World Series win occurred in 1980. Moyer skipped class that day to go to the championship parade. The opportunity to win a World Series for his hometown team is something every kid who loves baseball dreams of growing up. But at 10:07 Eastern Time on October 25th, this would become a reality for Jamie Moyer. Moyer had ample time to prepare after arriving at noon, and he gets Iwamura to fly out to center to start the game. BJ Upton grounds out to Jimmy Rollins, and Carlos Pena walks. But don't worry, as Rays superstar and 22-year-old Rookie of the Year Evan Longoria is unable to connect with that good old changeup. Now for the Phillies' turn to bat. Moyer's opponent in Game 3 is Matt Garza, a 24-year-old coming off a dominant ALCS that saw him claim MVP of the series. No matter, Rollins immediately singles up the middle before Jason Worth walks. A wild pitch scoots both runners over 90 feet, and then Chase Utley drives the runner in. Garza escapes the inning without allowing anything else. Carl Crawford pops one high, but Pat Burrell can't make the tough play. A little flare is caught by Utley before Crawford steals third. Gabe Gross launches a fly ball deep, and Crawford is able to jog home. Jason Bartlett flies out, but the damage is done. If there was a way to get that run back, then...
Very good swings all night, and now he goes deep to left, and Ruiz just put Philly back on top.
Now back ahead, Moyer gets Garza to ground out and Iwamura to fly out. And this beautiful changeup gets BJ Upton rung up looking inside. Nothing of note happens in the bottom of the third, and Moyer gets Pena to fly out and right. Evan, man, I'm sorry about this. Moyer gets Crawford to pop up to left, and then after allowing a single in the fifth, he retires the next 3 batters to end the inning. To lead off the sixth, Moyer gets another K followed by a single. Moneyball legend Carlos Pena is frozen, and there's 2 outs. After another Crawford steal, Longoria hits one about 332 feet to left field, but that's not enough as the wind keeps it in the park. Moyer, got a reaction for that one? Okay. Utley provides a home run to lead off the next inning, and then immediately after that, so does Ryan Howard to make it 4-1. Moyer is still on the mound, and Crawford bunts it right back to him and beats out the throw. Or did he? Sure doesn't look like it, but instant replay doesn't cover that in 2008. So that runner shouldn't be there, and when Navarro hits a double, the runner that shouldn't be there is now on third. Ryan Howard then makes a great play to save 1 run from coming in, and Moyer's day is done. A well-earned standing O for the veteran. Final line of 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, although it should have been 1 walk, and 5 Ks. Chad Durbin gets Bartlett a ground out, which scores a run. So now the final line looks like this. The Phillies bullpen, and more specifically Carlos Ruiz's 8th inning error, tied the game up, which means Moyer will be given a no decision. But Ruiz redeems himself with a walk-off infield single in the 9th. The Phillies had a dominant Game 4 win, with Game 5 scheduled for October 27th. But thankfully, a mid-game rain delay would postpone it. The game would be replayed on October 29th, 2008, 20 years to the date of Jamie and Karen's wedding anniversary. And on that date, which is special to me myself, Jamie Moyer became a World Series champion.
Phillies are world champions.
After all the celebrations, as a memento, the Phillies dug up the rubber mound and gave it to Moyer. After being granted free agency, Moyer would receive an honorary college degree from St. Joe's and ride off into the sunset of retirement. Oh wait, he signed a 2-year deal with the Phillies. Moyer started off 2009 3-5 before picking up his 250th career win against the Nationals, a team that didn't exist when he got his first win. His third start was against the Expos though. But the Phillies signed Pedro Martinez and demoted Moyer to the bullpen. To his credit, Moyer handled his new role with grace. Charlie Manuel said, "Jamie was a total professional and team player when we let him know of the decision to move him to the bullpen. He has been and will continue to be a very important part of this team." He would come out of the bullpen for the first time since 2004 on August 18th after a rain delay and pitch the final 6 innings, allowing only 2 hits and earning the win. Moyer would stay in the bullpen for the rest of the season until September 29th. Here's J.A. Happ giving up a home run to Lance Bregman of the Houston Astros. Here's J.A. Happ giving up a home run to Carlos Correa of the Houston Astros. There is a 10-year and 14-day difference between those homers. It's not important, I just thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, Happ got sidelined after 5 2/3 innings, which allowed Moyer to enter. The incident occurs in the top of the 7th. Facing Jeff Keppinger with Hunter Pence on first, Moyer would tear 3 muscles in his lower abdomen. See if you can spot it right here. Did you catch it? He could barely leave the field under his own power and would be replaced the next inning. The Phillies clinched the NL East the next day. Moyer would miss the entire Phillies run to the World Series. Would he have been enough to beat the Yankees? Probably not. Okay, contract year, Jamie. Moyer started back in the rotation and would pitch a complete game shutout on May 7th against the Braves. He became the oldest pitcher to accomplish the feat. His quote after the game, "Cool. Couldn't have said it better myself." He would pitch another complete game on June 5th, although this time he allowed 2 runs. But that was his 100th win since turning 40. On June 27th, he allowed his 506th home run all-time, which broke the MLB record set by Robin Roberts. But on July 20th, after the first pitch of his outing against the Cardinals, Moyer felt his arm turn into a rubber band. That's a direct quote, by the way. Remarkably, he got out of that inning somehow without allowing a run, but he told manager Charlie Manuel, "I can't throw." Not something you want to hear from the pitcher. That injury turned out to be a sprain in his UCL. Which, if you didn't know, that's the Tommy John injury. Needing Tommy John surgery means your season is totally done. So no 2010 playoffs for Moyer and no 2011 season, which means he wasn't a part of the 4 aces that Philly had going on that year. The surgery worked great, and guess what? Now that he was a free agent, the Baltimore Orioles offered Moyer a minor league deal. But the Colorado Rockies spiced things up with an opportunity to compete for the 5th spot in the rotation at spring training. And you'll never guess what happened.
I am back!
The Colorado Rockies were founded in 1993, one of 4 teams that to date haven't existed for as long as Moyer has been playing. Believe it or not, Moyer would make the opening day roster as the number 2 starter, making his first start at age 49 on April 7th against the Astros. His opponent on the mound was Lucas Harrell, who was born in 1985. Moyer actually made his debut before 3 Astros starters were born, including the leadoff batter Jordan Schaefer, who immediately took him deep. Well, it's not like Moyer is unfamiliar with giving up home runs. And he adds another one to that tally when J.D. Martinez, yes, that J.D. Martinez, went yard in the 4th. He picked up another L against the eventual champion Giants on the 12th, and then came April 17th, 2012. The Padres are not an intimidating opponent. They will finish 2012 with the 7th fewest runs scored in the majors. Moyer starts them out with a groundout. He gives up a single, then a fly ball and groundout. Another groundout. The single he allows just sets up a pickoff move. A full count walk leads into a fly ball out. Troy Tulowitzki throws wide and allows the first runner on. Moyer doesn't turn the double play, and then he does. Dexter Fowler provides run support. A fly out and single later, Moyer induces his 2nd double play of the game. Willeen Rosario provides some more run support. A single starts the 5th, followed by a flyout. With a runner on and 1 out, guess what happens? Another ground ball double play. A first pitch groundout starts the 6th. Then Moyer gets his first strikeout of the game. A chopper barely stays fair and ends up being a hit, but a groundout ends that inning. A 4-pitch walk isn't ideal, but after a pop fly, a single gets the bullpen going and Jim Tracy antsy. But you know what Moyer does with the runner on first and 1 out? What he's already done time and time again. Induce a ground ball double play, and that's not ideal, an unearned run scores. A sac fly means the 2nd unearned run comes in. But Moyer collects himself and gets another ground out to end his performance. He exited in line for the win, but now all he can do is watch. The Rockies bullpen puts 2 runners on in the 9th inning. If the game becomes tied, Moyer will receive a no decision. With a 3-2 count and 2 outs, the runners would be running, meaning 1 mistake could tie the game, guaranteeing a no decision. At 49 years and 150 days, Jamie Moyer has just become the oldest pitcher to record a win in Major League history. In the stands, just like she had been doing since 1988, Karen Moyer was cheering Jamie on. By the end of the season, of the 10 pitchers to face Moyer as a starter, half were born after his debut. Moyer would collect his 269th and final win on May 16th against the Diamondbacks. Poetically, one of the 4 teams that came into the league after 1986. Also in that game, he became the oldest player in MLB history to collect an RBI. 2 of them, in fact. His next appearance would be against the Miami Marlins, who used to be the Florida Marlins back when Moyer was in his 7th season. The appearance would be record-breaking, as once he threw the first pitch, he would start in his 50th MLB stadium, which is an all-time record since 1900. His opponent would be Mark Buehrle, who combined with Jamie to have over 1,000 career starts, which hadn't happened in forever. The outing was great until Moyer got into some trouble in the 4th. He recorded an out, but then he gave up one of 2 doubles in Mark Buehrle's career. The single that followed probably wouldn't have scored the run, but an error in center allowed the very slow Buehrle to score. Moyer threw over a couple of times, but even his pickoff throws are slow. He gets Peterson looking, but on a full count with 2 outs, Moyer walks Hanley Ramirez. The double steal is executed well, so now it's runners on 2nd and 3rd with 2 out. Now, I've seen this go wrong before, and after a walk, it's bases loaded with 2 out. Jamie Moyer will now face the 23-year-old superstar Giancarlo Stanton, who has 3 grand slams in his young career, including one as his first career home run, which was off of none other than Matt Garza, Moyer's 2008 World Series opponent. Ball 1 low, foul ball, ball 2 high, another foul ball. Look at how far this travels. Stanton has some serious pop in his bat. Stanton fouls another one off his foot, then a tough ball 3 call on Moyer's only offering so far that's been close. He's left nothing anywhere close to the heart of the plate, and then...
Bags loaded. The 3-2 to Stanton.
That was right down the middle, and Stanton did not miss it.
Bags loaded. The 3-2 to Stanton. Driven to left. Deep.
It's out of the park.
Gone! Grand slam! He waited out the veteran!
A Stantonian home run.
Giancarlo Stanton launched a grand slam so far that it broke the scoreboard. That was the last one Moyer ever gave up. If you combine both players' ages, you get 77, which might actually be how fast that pitch was. And now we come to his 696th and final appearance. It would be in Cincinnati against the Reds, managed by Dusty Baker, who ended his playing career in 1986. In his first appearance against the Reds, the starting lineup looked like this, featuring 2 Hall of Famers, Dave Parker, who won a ton of awards, Eric Davis, who was really good for a few years, oh, and Buddy Bell, who was on the 1989 Rangers because anyone and everyone was on that team. The final start of his career didn't go well. Moyer allowed 7 runs and 4 home runs, so trivia time. Moyer gave up a grand total of 522 home runs in his 25-year career. So, who hit the final one? If you would guess Joey Votto, aka the funny TikTok man, what am I looking at? You're wrong. The correct answer would be Todd Frazier, aka this dude. By the way, the bat would come out of his hands as he swung at the ball. Moyer gave up another run in the 4th, but manager Jim Tracy didn't pinch hit for him when the time came, which resulted in his final ever plate appearance, an uneventful strikeout. The bottom of the 5th comes. Moyer gets Joey Votto to line out, Brandon Phillips to pop up. Ironically, Tom, as there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos Brenneman, mentioned that whenever Moyer decided to retire, he would make a good mentor for young pitchers. The broadcast questioned whether or not Moyer would retire on his own terms or be released. I don't think they could have known it. This would be the final moment of Jamie Moyer's major league career. It started literally decades ago, and now it's officially over. Moyer would be DFA'd on June 1st and released on June 4th. Moyer was now eligible to sign with anyone, but realistically, nobody would want to sign a 49-year-old who gave up 13 runs in his last 2 appearances. That nobody was the Baltimore Orioles.
You can't keep getting away with it.
If you remember, they expressed interest in him during spring training. Anyway, the contract guaranteed him exactly 3 AAA starts, after which he would either be promoted or released. When the dirt settled after those 3 starts, Moyer was 1-1 with a 1.69 ERA in 16 innings. He did not allow a single walk. He allowed 11 hits and only 1 home run. Now, I want you to think of the weirdest, most random, pointless MLB moment ever. That's who hit that 1 home run.
Well, I expect him to hit his first big league home run today. He's going to get in a good count today. He's going to get a fastball from Tyler, and he's going to hit it out of left center field.
Okay, all right. I'm looking forward to it. Matt Tuiasosopo's first home run of his career coming up, according to Mike Blowers.
On a 3-1 count.
On a 3-1 count? A breaking ball, fastball?
It'll be a fastball. He's a fastball
3-1.
pitcher. 3-1 count. Second at bat.
How many rows back? Second row, second deck?
Second deck.
A few moments later.
And that's inside ball 3. 3 balls. I've never been strike side on the 3-1 count in my life. Now the left-handers. 3-1 pitch on the way. Swung on and belted into left field. It just missed the second deck. Fly away. I don't believe it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Tuiasosopo. However, the Orioles felt the timing wasn't right and didn't call Jamie up. To Baltimore's credit, they offered him another start, but Moyer was like,
"No, I don't think I will."
Orioles manager Buck Showalter said he wouldn't be surprised to see Moyer on another team. And what do you know? The Toronto Blue Jays gave Moyer a minor league deal with the AAA Las Vegas 51s. That is a fantastic name for a team. Moyer made his 51s debut on June 28th. Boom! Another win in the books. You know what? It's just now occurring to me that Moyer's age is almost the name of his team. And then came the end. In the 6th and 7th innings, Moyer ran out of the last drop of gas that was in the tank. 7 runs later, and Jamie Moyer would be released 3 days later. But when has being released ever stopped Jamie Moyer? As it turns out, knuckleballers don't need to throw hard. So he trained in the dark mystical arts with Charlie Huff and Tim Wakefield in a final attempt to keep his career going, and it didn't work. To fully put into context how long his career was, here's what baseball video games looked like when Moyer started, and here's what they looked like when he retired. Yeah, you might call that a glow-up. Moyer released his memoir in 2013 entitled Just Tell Me I Can't, How Jamie Moyer Defied the Radar Gun and Defeated Time. It has been very helpful in the making of this video. The Seattle Mariners elected him into the Seattle Mariners Hall of Fame. He appeared on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2018. Now, is Jamie Moyer a Hall of Famer?
No.
He received 10 votes. Not enough to stay on the ballot, but it was the same as multi-time Cy Young winner Johan Santana, whose secret was PlayStation Look Up There. Not bad for a guy with a career 4.25 ERA. Now time for some fun facts about Jamie Moyer. 17 Hall of Famers were teammates with Moyer at some point, and so in honor of that, I have created the All Jamie Moyer team. At the time of his retirement, Jamie Moyer had faced 9.8% of all MLB batters ever. Ever! How was that even possible? In his book, Moyer specifically names the 5 toughest outs out of all of those players. Manny Ramirez, Wade Boggs, Bernie Williams, and Mike Schmidt. But his toughest out was Mark Kotsay.
Who?
You've probably never heard of him unless you're currently an A's fan. If you are, I'm very, very sorry for you. But for whatever reason, this complete nobody, this random non-factor, this one-time teammate of Mark Kiger, was one of the best hitters ever against Moyer. Now, am I saying that he doesn't belong in this list with these other 4 players? Yeah, I'm saying that. But according to Moyer, he covered both sides of the plate very well off me and didn't try to do too much, other than hit the ball where it was pitched. He had an uncanny knack to square the ball up, and on occasion he'd lay down a bunt just to keep me honest. This is incredible to me. Among all players with at least as many plate appearances as Mark, guess who has a higher OPS? David Ortiz. And nobody else. That 1.451 is higher than Manny Ramirez, Gary Sheffield, and Frank Thomas. And for goodness sake, he only needed 1 home run to do that. Switching gears to the easy outs, Moyer says it's Cecil Fielder, Kirby Puckett, Scott Brosius, Glenn Wilson, and good old Lance Bregman. Of course, that .03 batting average against him is only in 12 plate appearances, but you know, who cares? By the way, the player with the most plate appearances without getting a hit off Moyer was Luis Gonzalez, who went 0 for 16. He has 8 children: Dylan, Duffy, McCabe, Catalina, Grady, Hutton, Timony, and Yennefer. In fact, he has more children than he has games pitched against the Rockies and Diamondbacks. His oldest child, Dylan Moyer, was drafted by both the Twins and Dodgers, but he hasn't played minor league baseball since 2015. The other child to be drafted was Hutton Moyer, who went to the Angels in 2015, but he hasn't played since 2018. Here's something funny: those 2 teams, the teams Moyer pitched the least games against, they resulted in both the lowest and second highest ERA by team. And if you wanted to know, the Red Sox banged him up the worst to a tune of a 7.17 ERA. In 1996, Moyer graduated from Indiana University with a Bachelor of General Studies. If you do the math, you can learn that he started getting his degree in 1992, the year that he didn't pitch in the majors. He and his wife started the Moyer Foundation in 2000, which serves children dealing with grief of losing a loved one. And that's the end. It only took me...
Oh my goodness!
Okay, it took a bit longer than expected. Well, I got nothing. Actually, here are all the Mariners commercials Moyer appeared in.
Imagine that, the old Jamie Moyer changeup. You gonna swing at it?
I don't know. Looks a little high. Looks pretty good to me. Hey, you tried that new seafood place downtown? Quiet, man. I'm trying to concentrate.
Oh, man, you gotta swing at that.
Told you.
The Seattle Mariners. You gotta love these guys.
Put a little something extra on that one.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. A new ballpark needs an exciting new mascot, a symbol of the energy of the Pacific Northwest. Please help me welcome the Mariners' new mascot, Lenny the Latte. Everybody loves a latte.
Did you have another nightmare? I told you, no nachos before bed.
The Seattle Mariners. Ain't baseball great?
Wait a second. See that book right there? The Merchant of Venice? Now watch this next commercial.
Hey, have you ever read The Merchant of Venice?
That's right. They got a whole connected universe up in here.
By Shakespeare? Yeah, check this out. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath.
That's pretty.
The hidden Shakespeare trick.
The Seattle Mariners. Ain't baseball great?
Works every time.
Oh, man.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
We talked about this in Baltimore.
See, look, they even remembered the Jamie and the Moose were roommates.
And we talked about it in Kansas City.
Mariners baseball. Sodo Mojo.
'97.
97.
99.
99.
99 miles an hour? Not miles, kilometers. Jamie got this thing from France. He seems to like it.
Ooh la la.
Mariners baseball. Sodo Mojo.
France?
Oh, jeez. I forgot to order sunflower seeds. Don't worry, I've got an idea.
Hey, Brian, skipper needs a righty. Hold up.
Mariners baseball. Viva la Mojo.
Ball's moving pretty good, huh?
I'll say. Keep it up.
Now, Bobby, here's a special treat. Our deluxe set of 3 amazing pitches.
That's right, Jamie. We've got the fastball, we've got the curveball, and we've got the slider. Oops, little mix-up.
You can use these pitches anywhere. You can use them at the office, on camping trips, or even at PTA meetings.
That's right, so call now, folks.
Operators are standing by.
Mariners baseball. What a show.
The Mariners' all-time leader in wins, Jamie Moyer's remarkable career spans decades. Moyer broke into baseball as a wide-eyed bat boy in 1926, then pitched in the Major League's first night game 9 years later. In the 1970s, Jamie popularized the big hair look in baseball.
Are you kidding me? I embellished a little, just a little.
Mariners baseball. My, oh my.
It's gonna be great.
Check it out.
Dude, that is really neat.
Thanks. What do you got there, Wade?
Call it Sad Batter.
Yes.
Hey, you say, what are you working on?
Wow. Is that crafty or is that crafty?
That's crafty.
Very crafty.
Hey, guys.
Lefties.
Mariners baseball, true to the blue.
See you tomorrow, Jamie.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really understand, but I fell down this hill. Now I got glue on my hands and I got rackets on my fingers. Rackets on my fingers, I got rackets on my fingers, and I just can't stop. Don't stop. I can't stop. I got a platypus.